reverse racism, or how the pot got to call the kettle black. In America, whites once set themselves apart from blacks and claimed privileges for themselves while denying them to others. Now, on the basis of race, blacks are claiming special status and reserving for themselves privilege they deny to others. Isn't one as bad as the other? In short, the answer is no. I take my text from George Bush, who in an address to the United Nations on September 23, 1991, said this of the UN resolution, equating Zionism with racism. Zionism is the idea that led to the creation of a home for the Jewish people. And to equate Zionism with an intolerable sin of racism is to twist history and forget the terrible plight of the Jews in World War II, and indeed, throughout the rest of history. What happened in the Second World War was that 6 million Jews were exterminated by people who regarded them as racially inferior and a danger to Aryan purity. What happened after the Second World War was that the survivors of the Holocaust established a Jewish state, that is, a state centered on Jewish history, Jewish values, and Jewish traditions. In short, a Jewocentric state. What President Bush Sr. objected to was the logical sleight of hand by which these two actions were declared equivalent, because they were both expressions of racial exclusiveness. Ignored, as Bush said, was the historical difference between them, the difference between a program of genocide and the determination of those who escaped it to establish a community in which they would be the makers, not the victims, of the laws. If only racism is thought of as something that occurs principally in the mind, a falling away from the proper notions of universal equality, can the desire of a victimized and terrorized people to band together be declared morally identical to the actions of their would-be executioners? Only when the actions of the two groups are detached from the historical conditions of their emergence and given a purely abstract description can they be made interchangeable. Bush was saying to the United Nations, look, the Nazis, conviction of racial superiority generated a policy of systemic genocide. The Jews' experience of centuries of persecution in almost every country on earth generated a desire for a homeland of their own. If you manage to somehow convince yourself that these are the same, it is you, not the Zionists, who are morally confused. And the reason you are morally confused is that you have forgotten history.